Hello friends, it's Cassandra. I've been gone for I don't know, a month now. Honestly, I'm not really sure. A lot has happened, so let's talk about that. If you've been following my college experience, I came in as a writing major, theater minor. After my freshman year, I switched to a biology major, dropped my theater minor, and now, as of January, I am no longer a biology major. I'm a Christian education major. So I'm going to tell you all about how that happened because I went into this semester saying, no matter what happens, I'm going to stick through, I'm going to be an animal biologist, and that's what I'm gonna do with my life, la 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 la. Obviously that's not what happened. Okay, I don't even know where to start. So, over winter Christmas break, and my first week back at school, I had several people say to me, why aren't you in ministry? Why aren't you a ministry major? I don't know, why would I be a ministry major? Being in the Lutheran church, specifically the LCMS church, women are not in ministry. They apparently can be DCEs, Directors of Christian Education, but I didn't grow up with a female DCE. And I never had a problem with that. That was never an issue for me. So I was ministry's just not where I should be. And being at a Wesleyan school, obviously there's a lot of women in ministry and on track to be ordained and be pastors, and I wasn't oh my gosh, those women are disobeying God and going to hell, but it was just that's not what my denomination has taught me, so that's not a direction that I personally am going to go in. Okay, but last semester, so the fall semester, I had spoken to the Honors College and said I want to give the homily at our Coram Deo chapel service. And for a while before I had asked that, I had been wrestling with I know I want to do this, but is this something I should do and something I can do? Because it is a chapel service, and although there's no requirement to be a pastor, be ordained to give the homily, is that something I feel I can do as someone who's not ordained and as a woman? And I decided essentially that since we do have communion at Coram Deo, communion is always officiated by a pastor. And I was I'm not the one doing communion, so I do feel I can speak at this event. So Coram Deo was on a Tuesday. The Friday before that, I I had decided, alright, I'm gonna go to the academic office, drop my biology class, and I'm going to change my major to Christian education. So all that week up until Friday, I had been really torn. I had been grappling with my relationship with God and the knowledge that we're supposed to be in constant pursuit of God, and just reflecting over how much my faith has grown just in my time at college. I felt the only way I could continue to pursue God was to make it my occupation. I don't want you to interpret that as I'm such a good Christian that the only way for me to be an even better Christian is you can devote your life to God in any occupation. But I just felt personally, the way that I enjoy diving into the Bible, I love reading the Bible with commentaries. I love doing exegetical papers. I want to learn Hebrew and Greek so I can read the Bible in its original languages. This is the kind of thing I want to do regularly. The way for me to do that is to have some sort of occupation, some sort of job where I'm explicitly focusing on God. And so that made me look into, obviously, ministry. What kind of ministry am I interested in? What kind of ministry do I feel comfortable going into as a Lutheran woman. So that phrase itself, like comfortable, by all means, I was not comfortable going into ministry. The foremost worry I had about going into ministry, it was, can I make a living being in ministry? And I had prided myself, I had prided myself all of high school and my first year and a half at college, like, I'm not letting my worries of money, like, control the kind of job I want and, like, the kind of major I have, because I trust that, like, no matter what, God's gonna take care of me, and whatever job I get, you know, I'm gonna be able to make it work and live off of it. I'm not scared of being poor. I can be poor, that'll be fine. Like, I just want to live the life I want to live. God will take care of anything I feel is out of my hands. And so when I was starting to consider going into ministry, I was like, oh, no, like, listen, there's no husband in sight right now, okay? Like, I'm gonna be living on my own, basically, when I get out of college. I need a job that will allow me to do that when I am out of college. And I don't think ministry is gonna do that for me. So I can't go into ministry. And it was that realization of like, wait. I've said my whole life, like, I'm not scared of being poor. Money is, like, not my concern. It's going into a job that I think is meaningful. And so if my faith is the most important thing, why am I suddenly scared of the money aspect? Yeah, it basically became this thing of the only way for me to continue to trust God wholeheartedly was to take that step forward into ministry. I go to RAS, which is like our academic services, whatever thing, and I'm like, okay, get me out of my biology class, I'm changing my major, I'm gonna do Christian education. And I walked out of there and I was like, I feel great. No wonder, like, the devil tried to get me out of this school so much last year. So at that point, I'd already written my homily for Coram Deo, and so I was just, like, practicing it, and that weekend I was not feeling good about it. I was like, I feel like the way I know what I want to say, and, like, I still agree with what I'm trying to say, but the way I'm saying it feels wrong or almost insensitive. And then I started to have these doubts of, I want to make a difference in the world. Like, I want to touch people's lives. That's why I started a YouTube channel in the first place. It might be hard to tell by my first couple of videos because those were dumb. But I knew that whatever I ended up doing, I wanted to be able to help people and impact people's lives. And so I was like, okay, if God is real, going into ministry is one of the best things I could do with my life. But if God isn't real, I'm wasting my life, you know. And I thought to myself, if I just stayed in biology, you know, like, I can still have my Christian YouTube channel and, like, do ministry that way, but at least, you know, the biology aspect, I'm still actually doing real help in the event that God isn't real. But now I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, and if God isn't real, you know, basically my whole life is going to be pointless. I didn't tell anyone that I was feeling this way. It felt like a long time, but it was really just that weekend, so like a day and a half maybe. But this was a doubt I've never experienced before. So it was difficult, and, like, I felt like it was hard. But I realized, like, even in that doubt, I was still leaning on God to get me through it. So it was like, deep down I know God is real, you know. But I was just so at war with myself, you know. Like, definitely definitely spiritual warfare, right? Like, I've made this decision to go into ministry, and Satan's like, no, don't do that, right? And he's like he's playing to my values. Oh, you want to help people. Well, if God's not real, you're worthless now, you know? And it was another one of those instances where, like, seeing firsthand how the devil isn't outright evil, right? He uses things that are good, helping people, impacting people's lives for the better, to steer us away from the ultimate good, which is God. So I'm practicing my homily, and I'm just like, I don't feel good about this. So I met with my hall chaplain at my residence hall, and I was like, I want to give my homily for you, like, tell me what you think, because I'm not feeling that confident about it. And so I started giving my homily, and I could not, like, I was tripping over all my words. I couldn't think clearly, and I got maybe like 2 or 3 sentences in, and I just started crying. And she's like, it's okay, like, take your time, you got it. And I'm like, no, it's not even the homily. I was like, I have been struggling this weekend so much with, like, doubting God's existence. I was like, I can't go up there in chapel and talk about God to a bunch of people when I am having a hard time believing in him myself. And she was like, I mean, this is obviously a very watered down version of everything she said, but essentially it was like, if that's how you genuinely feel, like, if you are really honestly not believing in God right now, I absolutely agree you shouldn't preach to people about God. But then we, like, well, first we prayed about a bunch of things, and then she asked me, you said, like, God's shown himself to you before, and, like, you've had assurance that God is real, like, what does that look like? And I was like, oh my gosh, the times where I'm most certain of God, like, looking back in my life, are the times where I've also dealt with the most, like, spiritual warfare, and, like, the times where like, Satan's tried to pull me away from God are the times where I'm most certain of God. Because if God isn't real, there's no harm in me chasing after God, right? But if God is real, those times that I'm getting closest to him, naturally Satan's going to want to pull me away. I've just made the decision that not only am I going to live my life for God, but I'm going to make my occupation and my academic studies, like, focused 100%. Right, on God, on theology, on growing my spiritual life. Of course, what would immediately follow is the greatest moment of doubt, of spiritual warfare in my life. Like, this is the biggest faith decision I've made since I said, when I was confirmed, like, I will live and die for God. Of course, the devil is gonna try harder than he has before to pull me back from that. And so I was like, okay, God is real. Let's do this. Let's do this homily. And I found ways to rewrite it so that I was still saying the same things, but I was saying them in ways that were, like, encouraging and just made more sense. And yeah, it was so much better. And anyway, I did this homily. I changed my major officially, so I decided to go into Christian education. I met with, like, the dean of our School of Theology and Ministry and the actual, like, Christian education advisor professor, I don't know his exact title, just to, like, talk about ministry and the Christian education program. And they were like, this is the most diverse of all the ministry majors. Like, you can go into the most variety of things after college. And I was like, good, because I honestly don't know what exactly I hope to come out of being in ministry. Like, I enjoy speaking. That's obviously why I have a YouTube channel where I talk about my faith life. But I was like, you know, I know that's one of the things I would enjoy doing, is like speaking about God, about my personal faith experience, about other people's faith lives. Like, yeah, like I would really enjoy that. But the specific way that's gonna look, I don't know. So I was like, good. I'm glad this is the most flexible of the ministry majors. And I'm sure once I start taking classes and like I have my practicums, I'll get a better idea of like, okay, this is what I want to do with my life, blah, blah, blah. Changing my major from biology to Christian education. It's proven to me, there's that phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. When it comes to God, we have to put our eggs all in the basket. You know, we have to give, if you aren't wholeheartedly committing to God, you're not committing to Him. You have to be all in. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna leave you with that. I'll see you next time. So, bye.